When you see the whole world shaking and you feel your heart is breaking, take my hand, no hesitating. When you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feelings will take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feelings will take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
Okay, where am I? The video is kind of choppy tonight, and I don't know why it's doing that. So you may hear the words come out of my mouth first, and then my mouth afterwards. And again, I don't know why it's doing that. I'm just going to check one more thing here. I want to make sure. Yeah, I started last week's program. Let me see if I take this out, if this works a little bit better with my movement here. No, it's still lagging behind. So we'll see how it comes out once it's finished. I apologize if it's not showing correctly. But I rebooted and I cleared the memory, and I don't know, the 16 grams or megabytes of RAM I have on this computer, and I don't know if that's the problem. But anyway, I'm seeing that I'm lagging behind when I'm viewing myself on the monitor. It's behind a couple of seconds, so we'll see how this turns out. So, by the way, I'm Chris Gajullo. I'm an associate broker for eXp Realty, and this is my podcast, Real Estate with MrG.com. And today is September 17th. It was a nice sunny day. Very comfortable. Hopefully we're moving towards fall, but I think we're going to have a couple hot days this week, and then it's going to go back to what's called the pumpkin spice coffee and latte weather. Okay, so I think it's going to be heading back to that. And just one more note, I'll be loading my episodes also to Spotify. And you just have to go to Real Estate with Mr. G podcast.com and you will get to all my podcasts. Okay. So you can listen to me while you're working out. Let me see if I made a caption or anything. Let me just put that since I brought that up. Let me just do that quickly since I just thought of that. And it would be everything that I do starts off with real estate with Mr. G. So let me just show that fast. Okay. And it's right there, Real Estate with Mr. G podcast.com. And you'll see a whole bunch of podcasts on there. Going back a year, I actually been doing this for about 2 years, but then I began realizing, or Spotify allowed us to upload our videos to, or the audio part up to, or onto Spotify. So I've been doing that. So you can listen to me while you're working out, you're at the gym, you're running. You before you go to bed, you listen to me, you fall asleep. But I'm here to help, okay? And I'm here to help you find a home, and I'm here to help you sell a home. So a lot is going on this week. We have a lot to talk about. And one thing that definitely happened this week is that, and let me post it up here, that mortgage rates jumped above 6% for the first time since 2008. Okay, so that's going back. We're in 2022. That's going back 4 years. And if you see the graph in front of me, if it comes out nice and clear, I mean, we've seen mortgage rates go up and down. During the pandemic, it was down probably lowest to like 2.8%, 2.5%, and then it shot up a lot. And now on Thursday, it was 6.02%. And that's pretty high. And so what I'm seeing is articles coming out. I just got this yesterday from Housing Wire. This is a magazine that I subscribe to. And there's also a lot of online articles. It's basically an online service, and it's mostly geared for real estate agents and mortgage brokers and mortgage makers, or mortgage loan officers, I should say. And but they're being truly honest. The state of this savagely unhealthy housing market. And I just got it yesterday. I didn't get a chance to read the main article, but I know what's going to talk about. It's going to talk about the high mortgage rates, the high home prices, and the lack of inventory. It's a rough time. It's a rough time right now. And a lot of real estate firms, they would tell you, always be positive, always be positive, always be positive. I like to be truthful. I like to say what's truly going on. If you have to buy a house, you have to buy a house, and there's ways to work with these high rates, and we're going to talk about that today. But I don't want to sugarcoat everything or being polyander. It's always good to be positive, be positive, be positive. I like to, let me hide this. I'm hiding my face right now. And let me go back to media, and I'll just close this one down. It's always good to be positive, but I'd rather tell you what's going on and then strategize to work out that situation. All right. I'm not going to tell you it's a great time to buy because it really isn't a great time to buy right now because of the high mortgage rates, the high price of homes, and the low inventory. So I would say, if you could have some time before you move, it might be a good idea to wait. If you have to move, which sometimes you just have to do that, then we'll talk about strategies to deal with that situation. All right. As for listing, it's still a seller's market. Okay. Now, there's been more. Let's put it this way: the bidding wars have eased, and that's today's article that we're talking about. So let me do my preview, and then we'll go into it. I've been talking. This is my little time to make a small chat. I call it the kibitzing. I'm not Jewish, but I went back in Brooklyn, where I'm from. I had a lot of Jewish friends. Went to school with a lot of Jewish friends, and I picked up a lot of the lingo. And just being in New York, you just even if you don't have a lot of Jewish friends, just being from New York, you pick up a lot on this. And so kibitzing is when you just talk, and you're talking about nothing. It's just like, shooting the breeze. But so I did enough of that. Let me get into the meat of the matter. And let me make sure I have the right one. I think this is the right one. But it's okay. Here we go. Okay, I got it set up right away. I got my little bubble. Okay, I can move myself around. You can see me, but I don't take up the majority of the screen, so I think that's nice. So buyers are regaining some of their negotiation power in today's housing market. So this is good news for the buyers. And it's the way of saying, well, all right, mortgage rates are high, home prices are high, but you're getting some power back. And what exactly is that power? Okay, one of the things, well, it's signing off over here. It's still a seller's market, so the sellers still have the upper hand. Okay, but they are more yielding now. All right, so it's a seller's market. It's more moderate seller's market than last year. And the days of feeling like you may need to waive contingencies or pay drastically over asking price to get your offer considered may be coming to a close. So the bidding wars should have alleviated a bit. I don't want to say it's 100% gone, but it may just be still present for a house that's truly just turnkey ready. All right, and I bring up this term a lot in my podcast. So turnkey ready means you just have to turn the key, open the door, and bring your stuff in. You don't have to paint. You don't have to steam carpets. You don't have to make any type of minor repairs. And this one may have bidding wars on it, or people might go a little bit higher than the asking price. But in general now, that's not so much present. All right. I don't hear from somebody who says, "I don't know. I just did one that was we did 20,000 over the asking price." Yeah, some of that might still be out there, but the wave is kind of going down now, where there's less of these bidding wars and pricing or putting in offers over and much over the asking price, and it says return of contingency. So people are now are not waiving a home inspection, which is most important. Okay. Now, if they're using bank money, they can't really waive the appraisal. But what they have done in the past, let's say a house is contracted for 200,000, and the house appraises at 195,000. Last year, people were guaranteeing that difference, and still going through the contract at 200,000. Now, of course, the bank is only going to finance 195,000. So the buyer has to make up that difference, and they have to put down an extra $5,000 along with their down payment for the mortgage that they're using. So this has stopped to a great degree. Now, again, if you're buying a house for cash, if you happen to have 200,000, you do not have to get an appraisal because you're not using bank money, but you might want to still have an appraisal and seeing if it's really worth what you're paying for. And again, a lot of people who were paying cash a year ago could completely not do the appraisal. And the same thing with the home inspection. At the very beginning of let's say at the height of the pandemic, people were actually foregoing the home inspection, saying, we'll just go by the appraisal. We'll deal with the appraisal when it comes, but I'm not going to check out the house first to see if there's anything that needs to be repaired. We'll just move it along. So that contingency, that home inspection contingency is off. Okay. So if you have a ratified contract and there's no other contingencies on it, you're just heading then to closing. You have to do all the necessary paperwork for the mortgage company. All right. But there's nothing else holding back a contract to go to closing unless at the very end you are no longer eligible financially for the house. You right before closing, you bought a $30,000 car, and that car loan knocked you out, put on too much debt, and then knocked you out to be eligible for that house. And then people began with doing the inspection, but just for informational purposes, meaning that I want to know what's wrong with the house. And then if it's really, really bad and I don't have the money to fix it and you don't want to fix it, I'm just going to walk away. All right. But if there's just minor things with it, I could take care of it as long as the appraiser doesn't question it. Okay. I'm fine with it. I'll make those repairs. Now, if the appraiser goes in and says, well, this has to be repaired. Let's say you're using a VA loan and there's a cracked window. All right. They won't approve it until that window's repaired. Okay. So that has to be done. Now, depending on what type of loan you're using, you might be able to do it, get it fixed. Or you work out something where they might have reimbursed the seller for the repairs of that. Hopefully, all of that is gone because I don't think that was right. And just since I mentioned that, I know a lot of sellers made a killing um, in that market because some people bid 20,000 over the price in your areas where real estate is much more expensive, and in the areas where your medium income is much higher than Hampton Roads. So I'm talking about New York and San Francisco and San Diego, and uh, I guess I can include Miami, where people put like $100,000 more over the price, um, and the only ones who really benefit from that, well, it would have been the seller and then the listing agent who represented the seller. But what happens once that deal closes, right? And let's say it went 100,000 over, well, that becomes now a comp. So the next guy or lady who puts their house on the market, they say, well, they got 300,000 for 200,000 house. I could put my house on the market for much, much more than, let's say, 200,000. Maybe I won't go as high as 300,000. And it's never a good thing for people to pay much more than the value of an item. That, I mean, here we have appraisers going out there. It benefits people momentarily, and you get a quick reward. But what happens? That becomes comps, and then it inflates the market. And what we have now is inflation, and we have inflation in the housing market because I believe some people. I know I'm going to get slack for this or hack for this, but some people just got too greedy. And it's nice to get a little bit more for your house than what it's worth buying an appraiser. But when it comes to tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, in the long run, it's going to hurt a lot of people afterwards. And that's what we have now. I mean, I said that like a year ago, and we see it happening now. We have a savagely, what did that magazine cover say? Let me get back that up here. Because I really feel like, my insight is so sharp, or my foresight, the state of the savagely unhealthy housing market. Okay? It's not just a bad housing market, savagely unhealthy housing market. And a lot of this is because that homes were sold much higher than the appraised value. Now, I even threw in an idea that maybe the government should regulate the real estate industry the same way they regulated the securities industry in 1933 after the crash of the market, because they said we have to put some control on it so a major crash like this won't happen again. So let me see. Sorry, I got a text from the priest from our church. Had to take it. I'm sorry, but I'm back. So, like I was saying in my earlier podcast, and I've been saying it for about a year. There's no good from in the long run with people purchasing items at a price too high, especially when it comes to the housing industry. And so I was talking about before I had a pause about how the Securities Exchange Commission came into being. It came in after the crash of 1929, and they put controls on it. So a crash as magnificent as that was, and when I say magnificent, I mean in a negative way, that was so big that it wouldn't happen again. And I think in some ways, um, and I know some people don't like the government getting into too much control or into too many businesses. But when you come to the housing industry, you're really talking about people's lives, right? I mean, I'm getting calls from people, not so much for housing, but for rentals. Like they can't afford the increase in the rents of their apartment or their house they're renting, and they are being asked to leave. And there's hardly anything out there when it comes to the rental market. Forget about the sales market, the rental market. Forget about it. And so you're dealing with people's lives here, and people's lives who may also have children, and um, being an investor and making a decent money and buying homes or having a development and renting out apartments, that's great. But you're still dealing with people's lives, and it's. I'm not saying that people shouldn't make a great profit, but when it gets out of hand, and um, not only people's lives are in shambles, but the whole industry, the whole economy, I think there needs to be some sort of control over that. And people don't like that word, control. But sometimes the government has to stop in. People say the purpose of government is to protect us. And usually when they mean that, by having the military in the war, like in case we go into war. But there's other ways of being protected as well, and being protected in the housing industry, and with dealing with medicine, with hospital cost, and education, and what was the other thing I was thinking about? Housing, medical, that's all important. Okay, even when it comes to the minimum wage, which, by the way, I'm really going off topic here. The minimum wage situation kind of worked itself out, because a lot of people who are against raising the minimum wage, and they say, well, let the market determine how much people should get paid. Let that work it out. We shouldn't have a minimum wage. Well, guess what happened? Because people during the pandemic said, hey, not worth getting paid $7.50 an hour or whatever it is, and the chances of getting a disease and being sick, and being out there with the public, and people are dying left and right. Remember the makeshift morgues in the streets of New York City, in the streets of Rome? Okay, that was some serious stuff. And people said, no, you got to pay me a lot more than that, than to go out there and work. And I want to tell you, I mean, you may not have to have a degree to work at the hospitality industry. When I say that, when I'm talking about foods, about food services, restaurants, but you're out there and you're working hard, no matter what. You're on your feet. It's a lot of work, and I just got another message. So there's a situation going on. Uh, so a lot of people said, no, I need to be paid a lot more. And then there was a bidding war for employees in the fast food industry, in the hospitality industry, where they were offering them then $15 an hour, and sign-on pay, bonus pay, vacation time, whatever. And then I guess they were right. The market dictated it. And now people will say, I'm not going to go back to 750. That's ridiculous. And I always thought that 750 in the year, well, let's go back 2 years to 2020, 2021, because after that point it began to change. I always thought that was ridiculous, to pay that little with the way inflation was. And people say, yeah, but the prices are going to go up. Yeah, things go up, right? To go out, whatever. Hopefully our salaries go up along with that. But it's just the way it is. People have to survive. No one should have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. All right? So I probably pissed off a lot of perhaps Republicans listening to me. But that's the way I feel. And again, I'm glad that people are getting paid more in these different industries. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think I covered everything in here. Oh, and the other thing, sellers are willing to help with closing costs, and generally closing costs range from 2 to 5%. The more expensive the home, closing costs probably be around 3%. But when the price of the home is lower, we usually have to ask from 4 to 5% for closing costs from the seller to cover everything. But now they are more receptive to that. Okay? Which is good, because now, you could very possibly get your closing cost paid for. So what they're saying here, a recent article showed that 30% of sellers paid some or all of their buyers' closing costs. Okay? And that was a recent article, so that's a good thing. So things are changing. So that's one way you could combat with today's higher mortgage rates and home prices. I mean, this is something, I shouldn't say combat, but something that's in the pocket of the buyer. Now, I forget if my video here. Let's see. Let me close some stuff out here. Okay, and let me make myself nice and big. So I do have a video today. I think the video is on how your home sale affects the economy. So let me play that, because I did talk a little bit about that and dealing with comps. So let's see that one. That was actually dealing more with, when you buy a new house, you're usually getting some work done on it. So either if you're doing upgrades, you're upgrading a bathroom or a kitchen, and that may cost maybe $20,000 up to, in the example, they give $55,000. So that's the way it goes back. And then actually when you buy a newly constructed home, because of all the materials that went in there and the labor, that helps the economy as well. Here it talks about going for why it's important to get a mortgage pre-approval. Okay. And there's factors that may impact pre-approval. Well, of course, your income. Okay, no, I moved that. Okay, your income. Okay, I don't want to mess this up now. How much debt you have, your assets, your credit history, and employment, and I know employment goes along with income, but they want to make sure that, for instance, you're applying for uh, a loan, and you have a house, and then it's been when it's a contract, it's ratified. What you don't want to do is change jobs at that point. If you think about changing jobs, wait till after it closes. If you get fired, you get fired. That's something else. If you lose your job, you may then towards the end, you may not be fully approved for the loan, and you won't be able to close. And that's all I want to say about that. Okay. Actually, we could have a podcast on how to deal with the increasing mortgage rates. And then I had something on my blog this week on dealing with that, but I might just do that. I usually pick an article that was posted on my blog site to go into more detail with a podcast. But I think a good idea is to talk about how to deal with the increasing mortgage rates. Okay, and it's something I think I talked about it last week. I mean, if the economy stays strong, if it keeps on going, home prices will still go up. It's not going to go up as it did in 2020, 2021, 19%, but it'll go up a little bit higher. And you have to take into account, even if in 2023 mortgage rates come down a little bit, you'll be dealing with more expensive home prices in that time period. So it kind of like evens out. So you might say, hey, I'll wait next year. I heard that mortgage rates might go down, but most likely home prices will be up as well. Okay? So actually, my producer, William Burgess, is back from vacation. I think he has somebody in the audience that he wants to, some performer. But are you back now? Did you have a good vacation, William?
Yes, Chris, I did enjoy my vacation. Thank you for asking. In the audience, we have two famous entertainers, Vladimir and Sasha Shmenkov. They are bicyclists who perform many dazzling and dangerous feats by riding their bikes. Retired from the Russian circus, they now perform for backyard birthday parties and bar mitzvahs. Ladies and gentlemen, the Shmenkovs.
That was magnificent. So thank you, the Schwenkovs, for being in the audience. And that's it for today's show. Hope you learned something from it. Okay. And in the meantime, I heard there's a new vaccine coming out. Once I know where it's going to be, I'm going to go for it. Knock on wood. I have not ever gotten COVID, or at least I have not been aware if I got COVID. I didn't have any symptoms of COVID. And one of the things is, I believe, is that I've gotten the 2 vaccinations and I got the 2 boosters. And I believe there's another booster coming out, so I'll do it. It's been working well for me. Knock on wood. All right. So in the meantime, be kind to each other, and remember, the greatest power we have is the love, and the greatest gift, each other. Okay? I'll see you next week.